Happy Friday! Yeah, made it almost anyway to the weekend. Still got to get through today, but I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to work real hard today, all right? First of all, it's Friday, and I rarely do that anyway. And second of all, the baseball playoffs begin today. And I love the baseball playoffs. They're my favorite. I don't even care who's in it. It could be the Pirates and the Marlins and the Reds and the Diamondbacks for all I care. It's the baseball playoffs. And, of course, as we get a little extra special baseball playoffs because for the first time in 21 years, the Mariners are in it. They'll play Toronto, 1 o'clock this afternoon on ESPN. You'll know what I'll be doing all day today, watching baseball. And it's a great lineup of teams that have made it to the playoffs because you got the traditional powers like the Yankees and the Dodgers, teams that have done very well for themselves over the last 10 years or so, like the Astros and the Braves. And the Rays, for that matter, can't forget about them. Toronto is in, which means all of Canada will be tuned in. And then you got the Mariners in the playoffs for the first time in 21 years. That's pretty cool stuff. So pretty happy about that. Also happy that the air is a lot better today than it has been at this time of the day since Sunday. Sunday is when we really started getting this really bad air. So we've been dealing with this for about 6 days now. It ain't too bad right now. It could get worse. It normally does as the day progresses, but it's not too bad. We're still not done with this ridge of high pressure. It's still sitting there. It's going to gradually shift to the west and eventually work its way out of the Pacific Ocean by Monday or so, going to allow a change in the weather. But what we're really looking for is a fire putting out kind of rain event, and that is not, unfortunately, in the forecast. So even though the air is a little bit better to breathe this morning, we're not done with it yet. In fact, we can go right back to some pretty lousy air by Saturday. Most of the really bad air is now over in western Washington. A little bit of an easterly breeze brought the smoke over the Puget Sound area. We'll give you some details on that here in a little bit when we get to the weather forecast. Sports, yeah, I already mentioned that. We got that. Oh, we got to preview high school football. Some games have been moved and some venues have been changed because of the dirty air. We'll get to that. We were supposed to broadcast Ellensburg and Wenatchee tonight and leave off the field of the Apple Bowl. That game has been moved to Moses Lake, where the air will be cleaner. And we don't know yet about the Pear Bowl, the big rivalry between Cascade and Cashmere. Supposed to be played in Cashmere tonight at 7 o'clock. It's kind of going to be a wait-and-see kind of a thing. If they can't get the game in tonight, they're going to play the game tomorrow in Chelan. There'll be a test later on. We'll have that in sports. It is 3 minutes after the hour. Let's start our tour around the valley with our cameras, with whatever we can see out there. It's better. Doesn't look too bad. Right now, the air quality in the valley is 77. That's moderate. Yesterday at this time, it was close to unhealthy. In fact, I think it was unhealthy. So we're looking good, 77 in Wenatchee. The dirtiest air right now is in Peshastin. A couple of days ago, they put a mobile air monitoring device in Peshastin. Where in Peshastin, I don't know, but it's there. And Peshastin is dealing with the dirtiest air. They're at 156. 156 in Peshastin right now. That is unhealthy, but it's not too bad. We can almost see Birch Mountain today. Couldn't do that yesterday from up on Wenatchee Heights. Camera 2 is a slow dissolve to a large body of water and mountains, and I want to say maybe the Arundel Rock camera. That's the Arundel Rock camera. Good for you. And I believe the good captain has that pointed over to the Chelan County side of the river. When you drive up on 97 and US 2 on the Douglas County side, you can actually see the camera. It's on a big rock outcropping, and we can move that around. That comes in very handy in the wintertime when we get those air inversions and we don't have any visibility to show you. And so Tucker has that pointed across Lake Aniat towards the Chelan County side of the river. A unique view there. Camera 3. Sunrise up in Lake Chelan. Hello, Lake Chelan. Greens Knob camera there, Tucker. Greens Knob. Air quality is not too bad up in Chelan. Let me check real quick. 58 is your AQC in Chelan, so not looking too bad there. By the way, sunrise is just about now, 7:08 roughly. 6:28 sunset tonight, 11 hours and 20 minutes of daylight. We're not going to be too far off when this show will be done almost entirely in the dark. That's what happens when the seasons change. And finally, camera 4 we're off to see Lake Chelan again, I believe. From the is that the Bear Mountain camera? I believe we used that yesterday. Looks pretty good to me. Hello, Sean. That's a beautiful sunrise up there. That's pink salmon-colored sky high above Lake Chelan. That's a nice looking view from there. Good work this morning from the good captain. Haven't done this in a while. The Climate Prediction Center and their long-term outlook, which is usually pretty accurate. So this is the 6 to 10 day temperature forecast starting next Wednesday. And yeah, you know what? After this brief little respite from the high pressure ridge that's going to happen on Monday night and Tuesday, another ridge of high pressure is going to reform, and we're going to see temperatures 10 to 15 degrees above normal for most of next week. We have a very good chance in our area of seeing temperatures not only above normal, but well above normal, bumping up against record-breaking high temperatures for the most of next week. And believe it or not, precipitation, we're not going to get any. Maybe a little bit of light rain possible. They were thinking maybe more rain now. They're thinking maybe not at all. Our 6 to 10 day precipitation outlook looks something like this. And again, same time period, starts on October 12th. And as you can see, we have about a 90% chance of not seeing any rain at all in the Wenatchee Valley. That's what we need. We need rain. Even though there is a low moving south from Alaska that's going to bump the high pressure ridge that's currently here now, it's not really packing a big punch. They thought for sure a few days ago it was going to really get us going, but it's really not. It's going to cool us down, a little bit of wind, but no rain in the forecast. Now, there was rain in the forecast earlier in the week. They've taken that off the board. We will be dry, but at least we'll have some fairly clean air, we hope. Man, do we need the rain. From the National Weather Service, again, that strong ridge of high pressure remains over the region through the weekend, well above normal temperatures. Our normal high is 67. We're going to get to 79. We hit 80 yesterday. Our record high on this date is 84, still very warm. Finally going to see overnight lows back into the 40s tonight, 47 for the overnight low. We're going to see a little more smoke, we think, on Saturday. Because there's not going to be those easterly winds at all. So we're still going to be under that inversion, still going to have the lid on. So look for the air quality to deteriorate on Saturday and Sunday. Not too bad today, not going to be too good on Saturday and Sunday. Again, very warm, up near 80 degrees on Saturday and Sunday. And right on into Monday, which, by the way, is a federal holiday. It's Columbus Day on Monday with a high of 81. So don't forget, no banks, no mail, that kind of stuff. No governmental offices from the federal level anyway. And then we have that weak system coming in I talked about. High pressure will be out over the Pacific, and then it's going to come right back and recenter itself right over the Pacific Northwest. So we go right back to sunny and very warm conditions. All of these temperatures, those high temperatures anyway, are all well above normal. It has been a very warm and dry October. We need the rain. There ain't any in the forecast. Sorry, kids. 8 minutes after the hour, a break, and then your Friday morning news. You're watching Wake Up Wenatchee Valley on the NCW Life channel.
To understand someone better, walk a mile in their shoes. Or ride along in their patrol car. That's what I do with local police officers here in Washington. To hear their concerns firsthand, then fight for them in Congress. It's why I got police more funding for bulletproof vests and body cameras, and more mental health officers so cops can stay focused on fighting crime. I'm Kim Schreier, and I approve this message because our local police deserve our support.
Welcome to Bubbly by Cake Chick, where friends come to relax and reconnect. Enjoy delicious lunches, decadent desserts, classic champagne, and bourbon tastings. Make every day an occasion when you join friends at Bubbly by Cake Chick on Riverside Drive in Wenatchee.
Just about 10 minutes after the hour. Still hazy and smoky, but not as bad as it was yesterday at this time. We're at 55 degrees, right about the 80-degree mark today. Smoke will return with a little more intensity. It looks like on Saturday and Sunday, temperatures still right around the 80-degree mark, which is crazy for this time of year. We're going to cool down a little bit the early part of next week, but not by much. It's still going to be very warm, all things being relative. U.S. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, U.S. Senators Maria Cantwell and Patty Murray, U.S. Representative Kim Schreier, and numerous state and local officials gathered on a smoky Walla Walla Point Park yesterday morning here in Wenatchee. All of those on hand praising the vision behind the Apple Capital Loop Transportation Project in Chelan and Douglas counties. It got $92 million in federal funding that will include the construction of a bypass in North Wenatchee.
Well, I wanted to thank Secretary Buttigieg for coming all the way to Central Washington and for the investment that he saw in this project. He was very committed from the very beginning on making this major investment. And we all know what the importance is, but I want to thank Mayor Kuntz because he too has been dedicated for a long time.
Wenatchee really is central to commerce and activity in Washington State, and the Apple Capital Loop is really at the heart of it. Every day, 100,000 vehicles move through this loop, getting families and freight where they need to go. So this is, to put it simply, a big deal. It is going to make a huge difference, helping us clear traffic congestion, keep our cars and our freight moving, combat climate change, provide an improved evacuation route for our families, as we talked about, and supercharge growth here, not just here, but all across our state.
And I do want to make sure you know just how competitive this program was and is. We got $7 billion worth of applications last year for less than $1 billion in funding. So it is really to the credit of this community that the Apple Capital Loop made the cut and that it was the single largest infra grant that we awarded last year. The best ideas, certainly the project designs, aren't going to come out of Washington. They're going to come to Washington from, and I mean Washington, D.C., from communities across the country. We just need to make sure more of the funding comes out of our building, and that's exactly what we're doing here. It's National Apple Month in October, and so a perfect time to visit the state that leads the nation in apple production and to be here in the very heart of apple country. So I'm so thrilled to be able to see this terrific work on the ground, to be with leaders who help make it happen. And as I'm sure the mayors who are here will agree, the one thing that's better than an award announcement is the day you get to bring out those ribbon cutting scissors. So I will be closely watching for announcements about the completion of this fantastic work. And again, congratulate you for this very successful, very competitive application and all of the work that went into it. Thanks again for the chance to be here.
A motorcyclist was hospitalized yesterday morning after a collision with a car. This happened just outside of Moses Lake. The Grant County Sheriff's Office said the wreck at the intersection of Road E Northeast and Road 4 Northwest happened at about 7:38 yesterday morning. A 2013 Kia Rio being driven by a juvenile was southbound on Road E, stopped at the stop sign, and then entered the intersection where it was hit by a motorcycle being driven by 56-year-old Carlos Bazan of Ephrata. Bazan was transported to Samaritan Hospital in Moses Lake with what were believed to be non-life-threatening injuries. The driver of the Kia and two juvenile passengers in the car not injured. The unidentified driver of the Kia is going to be cited for failing to yield to the right-of-way. Bazan's going to be cited for not having a valid driver's license and not having any insurance, according to the Grant County Sheriff's Department. An active shooter drill tomorrow morning is going to mean a heavy presence of emergency vehicles at the healthcare facilities out in Moses Lake. Confluence Health's Moses Lake Clinic and Samaritan Hospital are both participating in the drill. Extensive emergency activities at both facilities, but the Grant County Sheriff's Office is reminding people it's just a drill, it's a training exercise, but it is an opportunity for first responders to be better prepared should there ever be such an emergency. The ban on target shooting on state fish and wildlife lands in eastern Washington is going to be lifted today. The Department of Fish and Wildlife said fire danger does remain high, still high in some areas, so target shooters need to be extra cautious. The Lands Division Manager of the Washington's Department of Fish and Wildlife, Cynthia Williams, said this is an important window for hunters looking to sight their rifles as the general deer season begins on October 15th. The other fire restrictions, such as bans on campfires, still remain in place. And speaking of fires, the state says wildfires this year have burned the fewest acres in a decade in our state. The Commissioner of Public Lands, Hillary Franz, will talk today about the success that local, state, and federal firefighters have had in contributing to a mild fire season. DNR says a late start to the fire season this year on the heels of a wetter than normal spring also played a role in limiting the number and the size of wildfires this year. The previous 2 years were the second and the third worst fire seasons recorded in state history. The briefing will be at the DNR Fire Cache in Tumwater, beginning at 10 a.m. In addition to Franz, State Forester George Geisler, Wildfire Division Manager Russ Lane, and Fire District personnel will also be in attendance. And the Washington State Medical Association has recognized a Wenatchee Valley doctor for her work during the COVID-19 pandemic. Dr. Bindu Nayak received the association's Unsung Hero Award for extraordinary service to the medical profession. Dr. Nayak chairs the Health Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Council at Confluence Health. The award honors her work to identify and remove health inequities in the North Central Washington region. The COVID-19 emergency disproportionately affected Latino communities in the area. Nayak was involved with efforts to get health information, testing, and vaccinations for underserved clients. She got the award, by the way, last Saturday at the WSMA's delegates meeting in Spokane. Congratulations to the good doctor. And that's what's making headlines. At just about 17 minutes after the hour, one more newscast before the weekend comes our way. Eric Cranston at the sports desk. Grant Olson handles the news and the weather forecasting, for that matter. With a preview, here he is.
Good morning, Dan. Coming up tonight on the NCW Life Evening News, more haze and above normal temperatures as we head into the upcoming weekend, and then some changes early next week. I'll have all the details in your complete North Central Washington weather forecast. And in sports, Eric Granstrom has a look at today's big wild card game between the Mariners and Blue Jays, and has a look at what's coming up this weekend in North Central Washington prep sports. That and all the day's news stories coming your way tonight at 5, 6, and 10 on the NCW Life Evening News. We hope to see you then. Dan?
Thank you, Grant. And don't forget, if you got a news tip or you just want to drop us a note and say hi, we try to make it as easy as possible. You got the internet, you got a phone, you got a chance. Go to our homepage, ncwlife.com. You can go to our Facebook page, use the Messenger app. You can drop us a note by emailing us to directly news@ncwlife.com. 18 minutes after the hour, after a break, we get to talk about the baseball playoffs and the Mariners for the first time in 21 years. That'll lead our sports coverage in 1 minute. You're watching Wake Up Wenatchee Valley on the NCW Life channel. Scare Crazy in Cashmere. It's a spooktacular good time all month long in Cashmere. Scarecrows will be waiting for you throughout the town. Silly ones, spooky ones, and everything in between. Yeah, it's Scare Crazy in Cashmere. Bring the family and find the scarecrows all around Cashmere. And be sure to thank these fine sponsors. Doan's Valley Pharmacy. Enjoy a treat at their old-fashioned soda fountain. Get coverage you can trust from Bruce Cheadle, your State Farm agent. Hello, television family. Grab your cup of coffee each weekday morning and join me. I'm Dan Kuntz, the host of Wake Up Wenatchee Valley. It's Wake Up Wenatchee Valley. It's everything you need to start your day. We're live and we're local at 7 a.m. every weekday on the NCW Life channel. Just about 20 minutes after the hour, baseball playoffs, Seattle Mariners, same sentence. I like it. Rogers Center in Toronto. Let's play ball 107 on ESPN. Louis Castillo will pitch for Seattle. Alex Manoah goes for the Blue Jays. Scott Service says his team has been rejuvenated by the opportunity to play in the postseason.
We had our challenges getting through the last few games, trying to stay healthy. It's amazing when you get to game 163 First game of the postseason, how everybody feels much, much better. That's adrenaline. That's the rush of getting out there, going through a workout, knowing what's ahead of us tomorrow, and the challenge that is ahead of us. I think the biggest thing, and all teams react differently to it. This is our first go around here with the Mariners in quite some time. Many of our players have never been in the postseason before. Fortunately, we have a few that have been, and those are the guys you really lean on.
Back in June, if you remember, it didn't look like the Mariners were going to go anywhere. They had a long losing streak. They were 10 games under 500. They couldn't score any runs. And then manager Scott Service closed the doors to the clubhouse and had a team meeting.
I called the guys out and asked them to talk. I think it's really important that you listen to people and listen to our players, but you can only do that if you give them the platform to talk. And I forced our guys, what do you got? What do you think? What's going on here? And let it go. And I just sat back and let those guys discuss where we're at. It did not turn that day. I wish it would have. We got shut out that day. Okay, but I felt so good coming out of the meeting, and we got shut out. We went on a road trip, and we started to get it going. We won 5 out of 6 out of that trip, and towards the end of that trip, we got into a little bit of a brawl over in Anaheim. And I really think the combination of that meeting, understanding we were starting to play a little bit better. Now, when you come out of when you have a ruckus like that with another team, oftentimes it galvanizes your team. It really brings them together. And that's what I saw from our team at that point, and we started to roll.
Again, 107 today on ESPN, Game 2 tomorrow. Also 107, also on ESPN. Robbie Ray, by the way, will start for the Mariners tomorrow. All right, to the Les Schwab Prep scoreboard from last night. First to the pitch we go. Ephrata and Sela played a scoreless tie through 80 minutes and then 2 overtimes. And finally, the Vikings prevailed in a penalty kick shootout 4-2, so they win it 1-0. Cashmere's game with Quincy postponed because of the smoke. Okanagan topped Manson 1-0. Bridgeport beat Liberty Bell 3-1. Tenasket beat Pateras 13-3. Ouch. And it was Brewster over Oroville 9-1. Coming up on the soccer schedule tomorrow, Quincy plays at Kiona Benton. They'll get going at 11. It's Othello hosting Ephrata at noon. Wenatchee and Eastmont will play at Quincy at 1 o'clock, again because of the smoke. Moses Lake travels to Eisenhower. Cascade will host Ellensburg, and then Brewster will visit St. George's. Wenatchee swept to Eastmont in prep volleyball last night. Wasn't easy, though. Wildcats made it tough on the Panthers in Game 1, but the Wenatchee finally won that one 29-27, and then wasn't too hard after that, 25-17, 25-18 for the sweep. Moses Lake topped Eisenhower 3-1, 25-14, 25-20, 19-25, and 25-23. In a battle of CWAC unbeaten teams, Ellensburg came out on top of Ephrata, 27-25, 27-20, and 26-16. For the smaller schools, Chelan swept OMAC 25-6, 25-8, 25-18. Juliana Perez, 27 assists. Olivia Strandberg led the way with 14 kills. Manson swept Orville. Other winners include Tenasket, Brewster, Okanagan, and Waterville Mansfield. On the volleyball courts tomorrow, Chelan will host Manson at 11. Cascade visits Cle Elum at 12:30, and Waterville Mansfield travels to Riverside Christian. Eastmont and Wenatchee's swimming and diving teams will be on the road at the King County Aquatic Center tomorrow. It's the Mukilteo Invitational. Runners for Eastmont will be at the Nike Holden Wall Invite. That's at Lakewood tomorrow morning. The Wenatchee cross-country teams are participating at the Richland Invitation. Week 5 of high school football got underway last night. Antioch cruised past Bridgeport 62-32. Coming up today, Waterville Mansfield is at Touche. That's at 3, tonight at 7. In Central Washington B-League play, Tenasket travels to Okanagan. Orville will host Brewster. Lake Roosevelt's at Manson. In Caribou Trail League action, Chelan is on the road. They have a non-league game tonight at 6 in Colfax. Now, Cashmere and Cascade will meet for the 29th edition of the Pear Bowl tonight in Cashmere, we hope. It's also homecoming for the Bulldogs. Remember that, Captain. Now, if the smoke is an issue, they're going to hold. They can wait until as late as 9 o'clock tonight to kick the game off. But if they can't play the game at all, they're going to move the game to tomorrow at 10 a.m. in Chelan. Did you get all that? There'll be a test later on. And another CTL play. Quincy will host OMAC at 7 o'clock. Not an issue with the smoke out in the basin. Ephrata is at home tonight in Central Washington Athletic Conference play. They'll take on Sela at 7 o'clock. That's the same start time for Grandview at East Valley. Prosser at Othello. Ellensburg against Wenatchee. And, of course, the smoke has forced the Bulldogs and the Panthers to move their game to Moses Lake tonight at 7 o'clock. Wenatchee coach Scott Devereaux said not being able to practice outside this week has been a pain in the butt.
Yeah, it is what it is. You know, it's the classic E plus R equals O, right? You know, it's events we can't control. How we respond is going to be how the outcome. So, you know, we're focused on what we can control. You know, yesterday we practiced in half a gym because the freshmen were in the other half of the gym and there's volleyball going on. And so, you know, we didn't have a lot of space. So it was basically we worked our running game and we spent 5 minutes special teams getting some mental reps, and we worked a little bit of just alignment assignment with our defense and walkthroughs and, you know, get the mental part really dialed in, and hopefully our guys are taking those mental snaps as we do it.
Panthers are trying to come back from a 28-7 loss to Moses Lake last Friday night. Devereaux said they lost to the Mavericks because they just basically gave the game to them.
You know, I told the guys about the Moses Lake game. I don't know if I've been in a game where I've seen that many bad things go that way, you know, with block kicks and long punt returns and interceptions, and pretty frustrating night. And I think, you know, we could have played with that team, but we can't have those kind of mistakes. You know, special teams, usually we're pretty solid in that department, and we broke down.
Again, Wenatchee and Ellensburg at Lions Field in Moses Lake at 7 o'clock tonight. And at 7 o'clock tonight, Eastmont will be at West Valley. The Wildcats have also been stuck inside for most of the week, although on Wednesday, Coach Michael Don and the team took a little road trip.
We went to Eniat. You know, we were able to get some buses. Fortunately, our athletic director's been working really hard for us. Originally, we were supposed to go to Quincy, and then the smoke level raised up there. So we came up with a backup plan of Eniat. I live up there, so I know it's a lot clearer, and I just mentioned it. I said, hey, there's really no smoke up there. And it's I don't know, something about it. There's about halfway up the river, it's clear. And so we were able to get a group of guys up there. We took the JV varsity up to Eniat, and we're able to get a nice 2-hour outdoor practice in.
Eastmont lost their homecoming game to Sunnyside last Friday night, 35-20. Sunnyside throws the ball a lot. Tonight they play West Valley, who throws the ball a lot.
We got to get to the quarterback. We got to make him get the ball out. We got to make him make mistakes. And then offensively, we need to stop having penalties. We got to take care of the football, and we got to be able to throw the ball efficiently. You know, a lot of that's on me. I think we've taken too many shots early, and we got to make sure we're getting into a rhythm, throwing the ball efficiently, and then continuing to run the ball. I'm disappointed with myself as a coordinator last week because, you know, we ran the ball for like 9 yards per carry, and we only scored 20 points. I got to do a better job of keeping us in good positions.
Other Big Nine play has Moses Lake at Davis, and Ike will host Sunnyside. And remember, because the venue changes tonight and tomorrow for football and soccer, we will not be broadcasting football and soccer this weekend. The Wenatchee Wild will try to notch the win column for the first time this season. They're north of the border this weekend. The Wenatchee Wild are at Trail tonight at 7 o'clock to take on the Smoke Eaters. Trail was the only team the Wild was able to beat in their preseason schedule. And then the Wild will be in Cranbrook to take on the Bucks Saturday at 7 p.m. Pretty interesting weekend in college football for the local teams. The number 21 Washington Huskies will be in Tempe taking on Arizona State. It's going to be hot tomorrow afternoon, 1 o'clock on the Pac-12 network. Washington State is in Los Angeles, California. This could be a good one. Watch out, Southern Cal, 4:30. That game will be televised on Fox. Eastern Washington is also on the road at Weber State tomorrow night at 6 o'clock. You can watch that on ESPN+. I don't have it. Central Washington is in Western Oregon tomorrow night at 6 o'clock. And finally, Seahawks hop on the plane. They're flying to Nolens to take on the Saints on Sunday. Kickoff at the Superdome, set for 10 a.m. on Fox. By the way, Geno Smith is one of the top passers in the league with a 108 quarterback rating. He also was named the NFC Offensive Player of the Week. Meanwhile, Russell Wilson was booed in Denver last night. He threw 2 interceptions, and the Broncos offense didn't do anything. His quarterback rating, Russell Wilson's, is 54.9. By the way, the Seahawks and the rest of the NFC West, they're all tied for first. They're all 2-2. Heading into Week 5, the Niners are in Carolina. 1:05 kickoff on Sunday on CBS. Arizona will host the upstart 4-0 Eagles on Fox at 1:25. At the same time Sunday, the Rams are hosting the Dallas Cowboys. I won't be watching any of those games because it's baseball playoff time. And those are just some of the games that people are playing on this 7th day of October. I could have chosen National Frappe Day. I could have chosen Inner Beauty Day. But no. Today we celebrate National LED Light Day because it was 8 years ago that 3 gentlemen by the name of Senshu Nakahama, Isamu Asaki, and Hiroshi Amano received the Nobel Prize in Physics for that. Now, LED lights have been around for a long time, certainly before 2014 when they got the Nobel Prize in Physics. Why they waited so long to give them to them, I don't know. But of course, this has been the game changer in a lot of ways, not just light bulbs. High-intensity blue LED lights are responsible for almost any major technological thing that you deal with today, from fiber optics to the nice bright screen on your phone, to your computer, to Blu-ray players. Fiber optics, it all is because of that. And of course, now we have these things which last 9 times as long as any other light bulb around there. Happy LED lights. 31 minutes after the hour, sorry. Today in history, Cumberland College disbanded their football team in 1915, but they had signed a contract to play football against Georgia Tech. So Cumberland called them up. Georgia Tech said, hey, we don't even have a football program anymore, so we're not going to come play you. Sorry. No dice, not going to come to Atlanta and play you. Georgia Tech said, you got a contract, you signed it. So you either come and play or you're going to write us a big fat check. And Cumberland said, okay. And so they cobbled together like 20 students at Cumberland College, and they hopped on the bus, or the train anyway, and they went to Atlanta. And Georgia Tech beat them 222-0. The most lopsided college football score in this country's history. Why Georgia Tech just didn't let them out of the contest, we don't know. Cumberland rushed 27 times. They lost 47 yards, and they also fumbled 9 times. They attempted 18 passes. They completed 2 of those for 14 yards, and Cumberland College threw 9 interceptions. Georgia Tech rushed 26 times for 522 yards and 18 touchdowns and never completed a pass. 222-0. And no, they did not have a running clock in 1916. Happy anniversary to John Lennon finally getting his green card. October 7th, 1976, in New York City, 46 years ago today, John Lennon was awarded his green card, which means he could permanently live in the United States as long as he wanted to. This was a 6-year legal battle between the FBI, the Nixon administration, the Ford administration. It was the Ford administration who said, just let him stay. It's John Lennon. Why not? John got to stay permanently in this country on this date in 1976. He was a pretty happy guy. Before John Lennon was assassinated, he was contemplating becoming a U.S. citizen. Anyway, John got his green card on this date 46 years ago today. To the footage we go. This is the 9th race at Belmont Park. Here we go. The 9th race at Belmont Park, just outside of New York City. And here we go. They're into the backstretch. And let's see. We got Banana coming up through the bunch. There's Assault and Battery in there. Cafe Alexa's in there. Space Appeal. Scorecard Harry is in the lead. And they're coming around the turn. And here we go. We got Banana coming up through the bunch. Assault and Battery are going at it quite well. And then we have Space Appeal, Scorecard Harry, and Cafe Lex. And there's Beetle Bomb coming up from the rear side. So Space Appeal, Cafe Lex, Beetle Bomb, and Banana still coming up through the bunch. Scorecard Harry, Cafe Lex, and Space Appeal. Oh, and here comes Scorecard Harry. Scorecard Harry from the outside. And at the finish line, it's Space Appeal, it's Cafe Lex, and Scorecard Harry. And the winner is the winner of the 9th race here at Belmont Park is Space Appeal. No, the winner is Cafe Lex. No, the winner is Scorecard Harry. And the winner is Scorecard Harry and Cafe Lex and Space Appeal. A triple dead heat. A triple dead heat. As you might imagine, that led to some very interesting payoffs once they figured out how to do it. A triple dead heat. It hadn't happened in 54 years. Believe it or not, Scorecard Harry, which they all tied for first, of course, Scorecard Harry, Space Appeal, and Cafe Lex. Scorecard Harry and Space Appeal would paid more for finishing second than first because it was a three-way tie. If you had bet Space Appeal or Cafe Larry to show instead of win, you won more money than if you bet on them to win, even though they won. A triple dead heat at Belmont in the ninth race 31 years ago today. The most costly and devastating flood in this country, the Great Flood in 1993, finally came to an end when the Mississippi River, after being over flood stage for exactly 100 days, falls below flood stage in St. Louis. A 103-day flood. 100,000 homes were destroyed, never to be rebuilt. Damages in the billions and billions of dollars. The Great Flood in 93. Can you imagine a flood that lasted 103 days? The Mississippi finally went below flood stage in St. Louis after 103 days of being at or above flood stage. That's a big flood. And finally, the longest war in this country's history began on this date in 2001. About a month after the terrorists attacked this country, the war on terror began. When we started bombing the Taliban in Afghanistan, the war began on October 7th, 2001, the longest war in this country's history. And let's do some birthdays. I dreamed I saw Joe Hill last night, alive as you and me, said I, but Joe, you're 10 years dead. I never died, said he. Joe Hill, the Swedish-born American labor activist and poet, was a significant figure in the early labor movement in this country, was executed in Utah for a homicide he probably didn't commit in 1915 at the age of 36, but he wrote a lot of labor songs, and he sparked the labor movement and a song named after himself. Joe Hill, born in the state in 1879. Guess who's 70 today? That guy, who's been basically running Russia since 2000. He was the president of Russia from 2000 to 2008. Then he was the prime minister from 2008 to 2012, and then he's been the president again since 2012. So for the last 22 years, Vladimir Putin has pretty much been the dictator of Russia. He's 70 years old today. And by the way, whenever you see those media photo opportunities with Vladimir Putin sitting next to an American envoy or president or whatever, and they have the translator there to translate it, don't worry about it. Vladimir Putin is completely fluid in English. He speaks English as good as anybody. He also speaks Swedish and German fluently. That's pretty good. He's 70 years old today. And happy 55th to Tony Braxton, who I think is very talented, more talented than I am, which doesn't say a lot. 38 minutes after the hour, going to take a break. When we come back, an opinion from Mike, Mad Dog McNaughty. Buckle your seatbelts. You're watching Wake Up Wenatchee Valley on the NCW Life channel.
Don't make plans to store your boat for the off-season until you've checked out the Super Package from Bob File Boats and Motors. With this package, you just drop your boat off for winterizing, and they take it from there. When you pick it up in the spring, it'll be ready to go for the next season. There are too many features in the Super Package to list here, so get the details. 509-884-3558.
Bob File Boats and Motors, we're dealing. Bob File's gonna make you smile.
Hey everyone, Fletcher and Amy Ellington here from Live It Up. In the investment world, ROI stands for Return on Investment. Well, how does better health, better wealth, and better relationships sound for ROI? Join us every week right here on NCW Life and learn how to invest in the most important asset, you.
We're going to answer your questions and provide some weekly inspiration so you can create a life that you love. Join us on Live It Up.
Mondays are happy hour all day long at Bob's Burgers and Brew in East Wenatchee. Great deals on appetizers, martinis, specialty drinks, wine, well drinks, and draft beers. Bob's Burgers and Brew in East Wenatchee. Come on in. They look forward to serving you.
Bob's Burgers and Brews in East Wenatchee. Come enjoy great food, great service, and a great time. Only the best for our guests. We look forward to serving you. Stop on by today.
When your heating or cooling system is giving you trouble, call the diagnostic doctor from Dick's Heating and Air Conditioning.
Here's the culprit right here.
All joking aside, when you call Dick's, you're calling 35 years of experience at customer service right here in the Wenatchee Valley. Dick's strongly believes in repairing before replacing, and they service all major brands of HVAC units.
Get a little oompa back in your life by visiting the 24th Annual Leavenworth Oktoberfest at the Town Toyota Center in Wenatchee. Your thirst will be satisfied with a variety of authentic German beer, and your hunger will be filled with German brats right off the grill. The sounds of oompa will be delivered up in 2 venues with live, non-stop entertainment. Don't miss out. For more information or to purchase tickets, log on to leavenworthoktoberfest.com.
Hey, this is Mike Mad Dog McNaughty, and everybody is entitled to my opinion. Now, Liz Cheney said something scary after her defeat in the recent primary due to her refusal to drink the personality called Kool-Aid of Donald Trump. For her voting to impeach Trump, despite the personal loss that caused her, I give her high marks in integrity. However, the scary thing is she said that it might take several election cycles for things to straighten out. Man, let's hope this Democratic Republic can weather that storm. This is Mike Mad Dog McNaughty, and that's my opinion.
Hi, I'm Jim Heinlein, independent agent and owner at Springwater Insurance Group here in North Central Washington. And it's that time of year again. October 15th to December 7th, that is the time if you have a Medicare plan, do I want to keep it or do I want to change it? For any of those questions, give us a call at Springwater Insurance Group because we're independent agents. We don't work with one company, we work with many companies because all of you have different situations and needs. So if you have questions about 2021 Medicare plans, give us a call, 888-2600.
ColorFX has moved their shop to a larger location to expand their services, including adding in a state-of-the-art large format printer. They got it. You need banners? They got them. You need vinyl decals for your cars, trucks, vans, or trailers in just about any size? Yeah, they got it. ColorFX has also been providing fun swag and clothing for local churches and high schools around our valley for decades. Support your local print shop. Call ColorFX in Cashmere today.
I'm John Divis from Wenatchee Dental Arts, and I like to think myself as a comprehensive dentist. We are an office that treats people comprehensively for their dental problems. We do a lot of general dentistry in a broad sense. We don't send everything out. Things that we have the ability to do in the office, we like to keep in the office and under one roof and keep things as complication-free as possible. You can come to one place and have all their dental needs taken care of.
At D.A. Davidson in Wenatchee, they believe your investment success begins with a personalized plan. A plan that is the roadmap you need to navigate your way to living your best years in retirement. D.A. Davidson can help you create a plan so you can take the time to enjoy the finer things in life. Let the financial advisors at D.A. Davidson help chart your retirement future today.
If you are looking for dependable car service and repair, visit the good guys at Quick Lube and Tune. They've been keeping cars and trucks in the Wenatchee Valley running smooth for 35 years. Quick Lube and Tune is your hometown shop for a 10-minute oil change, complete tune-ups, alignments, brakes, mufflers, air conditioning service, and more. Get more life out of your vehicle by bringing it to the local guys you can trust at Quick Lube and Tune on South Wenatchee Avenue.
Badger Mountain Brewery is your cure for boredom. Jam Night Mondays. Trivia Wednesdays. Live Music Fridays. And Sunday Brunch. There's always something brewing at Badger Mountain, so come join the party.
45 minutes after the hour on this Friday edition of Wake Up Wenatchee Valley. I am Dan Kuntz, 7th day of October. Real quick, I got the Air Quality Monitoring Network up on my screen here. It's looking a lot better, at least at this time of the day, than it has been really for about the last 6 days. Wenatchee is 78 on the scale. That's moderate. Cashmere's at 100, so Cashmere's getting pretty close to having air that's unhealthy for sensitive groups. By the way, this show is also unhealthy for sensitive groups. Leavenworth is at 96. They're climbing up there a little bit. Leading the way, unfortunately, is Peshastin. They put a portable monitoring site in Peshastin a couple of days ago, and they're registering 163 in Peshastin, which is just plain unhealthy. And even though we will be dealing with dirty air again today, it's not going to be quite as bad as it has been the last couple of days, especially on Wednesday and Tuesday when it was just awful. But unfortunately, it looks like with that big ridge of high pressure that's still centered over the Pacific Northwest, even though it's going to slightly move towards the Puget Sound area and eventually out in the Pacific Ocean, it's going to take a sweet time doing it. And with the winds changing, we could go right back to some pretty bad air on Saturday and Sunday. We'll take one more in-depth look at the forecast before we cut you loose here on this Friday. But first, another look at the news here. U.S. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, U.S. Senators Maria Cantwell and Patty Murray, U.S. Representative Kim Schreier, and numerous state and local officials gathered in a smoky Walla Walla Point Park in Wenatchee yesterday morning. All of them, all on hand, praising the vision behind the Apple Capital Loop Transportation Project in Chelan and Douglas counties. It got $92 million in federal funding, and that includes the construction of a bypass in North Wenatchee.
Well, I wanted to thank Secretary Buttigieg for coming all the way to Central Washington and for the investment that he saw in this project. He was very committed from the very beginning on making this major investment. And we all know what the importance is, but I want to thank Mayor Kuntz because he too has been dedicated for a long time.
Wenatchee really is central to commerce and activity in Washington State, and the Apple Capital Loop is really at the heart of it. Every day, 100,000 vehicles move through this loop, getting families and freight where they need to go. So this is, to put it simply, a big deal. It is going to make a huge difference, helping us clear traffic congestion, keep our cars and our freight moving, combat climate change, provide an improved evacuation route for our families, as we talked about, and supercharge growth here, not just here, but all across our state.
And I do want to make sure you know just how competitive this program was and is. We got $7 billion worth of applications last year for less than $1 billion in funding. So it is really to the credit of this community that the Apple Capital Loop made the cut and that it was the single largest infra grant that we awarded last year. The best ideas, certainly the project designs, aren't going to come out of Washington. They're going to come to Washington from, and I mean Washington, D.C., from communities across the country. We just need to make sure more of the funding comes out of our building, and that's exactly what we're doing here. It's National Apple Month in October, and so a perfect time to visit the state that leads the nation in apple production and to be here in the very heart of apple country. So I'm so thrilled to be able to see this terrific work on the ground, to be with leaders who help make it happen. And as I'm sure the mayors who are here will agree, the one thing that's better than an award announcement is the day you get to bring out those ribbon cutting scissors. So I will be closely watching for announcements about the completion of this fantastic work. And again, congratulate you for this very successful, very competitive application and all of the work that went into it. Thanks again for the chance to be here.
A motorcyclist was hospitalized yesterday morning after a collision with a car outside of Moses Lake. The Grand County Sheriff's Office said the wreck at the intersection of Road E Northeast and Road 4 Northwest happened at about 7:38 yesterday morning. That car, a 2013 Kia Rio, being driven by a juvenile, was southbound on Road 3 and stopped at the stop sign and then entered the intersection where it was hit by a motorcycle being driven by 56-year-old Carlos Bazan of Ephrata. Now, Bazan was transported to Samaritan Hospital in Moses Lake, believed to be non-life-threatening injuries for Bazan. The driver of the Kia and two juvenile passengers in the car not injured. Now, the unidentified driver of the Kia is going to be cited for failing to yield the right-of-way. Bazan will be cited for not having a valid driver's license and not having any insurance, and that's according to the Grant County Sheriff's Office. An active shooter drill is going to happen tomorrow morning, and that means a heavy presence of emergency vehicles at healthcare facilities in Moses Lake. Confluence Health's Moses Lake Clinic and Samaritan Hospital are both participating in the drill with extensive emergency activities at both campuses. The Grant County Sheriff's Office is reminding people it's only a training exercise, but it is an opportunity for first responders to be better prepared should there ever be such an emergency. The ban on target shooting on state fish and wildlife lands in eastern Washington is lifted today. The Department of Fish and Wildlife said fire danger still is high in some areas, so target shooters, you still need to be pretty cautious, obviously. The division manager of the Washington Department of Fish and Wildlife, Cynthia Williams, said it's an important window for you hunters out there who are looking to sight your rifles to get ready for the deer season for firearms. That begins on October 15th. Other fire restrictions, such as a ban on campfires, however, still in place. And the state says wildfires this year have burned the fewest acres in a decade in our state. The Commissioner of Public Lands, Hillary Franz, will talk today about the success that local, state, and federal firefighters have had in contributing to a mild fire season. DNR says a late start to the fire season this year came because we had a wetter than normal spring, and that played a role in limiting the number of and the size of wildfires this year. The previous 2 years were the second and third worst fire seasons recorded in state history. The briefing will be at the DNR Fire Cache in Tumwater. It begins at 10 o'clock this morning. In addition to Franz, State Forester Greg Geisler, Wildfire Division Manager Russ Lane, and Fire District personnel will also be in attendance. All we need to do is get rid of the fire up in the Lake Wenatchee area. And that's what's making news at 52 minutes after there. Speaking of the fire up in the White River, it's still burning. It's still sitting there and smoldering in high, dense forest and very difficult terrain to fight. As you know by now, they're kind of just waiting for rain or some sort, well, precipitation. They need a lot of precipitation. There's none, unfortunately, in the forecast. Earlier in the week, with this arrival of this trough coming out of the Gulf of Alaska, it looked like it was going to bring some moisture with it. Now it ain't looking like it's bringing any moisture with it. In fact, the forecast has changed quite a bit from it was about 48 hours ago, and we're still not done with the smoke. It ain't too bad right now, but it could get pretty bad again on Saturday and Sunday. We're going to take a break and take one more look at that weekend weather forecast before we send you on your way. You're watching a Friday edition of Wake Up Wenatchee Valley on the NCW Life Channel. Did you know people 65 or older make up 12% of the U.S. population but consume 34% of all prescription drugs? Protect yourself and your aged loved ones from prescription errors. Always read labels carefully to avoid mistakes. Ask your pharmacist if over-the-counter medicines conflict with your prescriptions, and never skip doses or take more than is prescribed. This message sponsored by Aging and Adult Care of Central Washington. Call 1-800-572-4459 for prescription assistance.
Bring the whole family up to Stormy Mountain Brewing and local public house in historic downtown Chelan. Applewood smoked brisket, street-style tacos, and our award-winning barbecue rubs and sauces. Our meals pair perfectly with our exciting lineup of craft ales, made right here in Chelan. We've got room for big groups, or give us a call for catering. So grab the kids and check out the fun at Stormy Mountain Brewing and local public house located in the heart of Chelan.
We were in Roseburg in the early 80s. Our oldest son, Dan, was a defensive back, a starter on that team. They in fact, became Oregon State champions, setting the first undefeated 14-0 season in Oregon's history. And our kids still talk about that. I go back now, too, and I think about all those great days and great times. The neat thing is that we can go back in today and still enjoy the same quality food that we enjoyed 50 years ago. That's legendary.
Are you caught in a conflict with a family member, in the workplace, or with a neighbor or business? Wenatchee Valley Dispute Resolution Center provides mediation services, a cost-effective and efficient way to provide a written resolution to disputes and issues. Plus, we offer mediation training and community education on topics like conflict resolution and communication skills. Contact us at 509-888-0957 or www.wvdrc.org to learn more.
It's the NCW Life Community Calendar, brought to you by NCW Towing. The harvest is in full swing, and you can pick up your fresh, locally grown produce at the Wenatchee Valley Farmers Market on Wednesdays and Saturdays. Wednesday hours are from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., and on Saturdays, the Farmers Market is open from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. Fruits and vegetables, original arts and crafts, soaps, candles, plants, and goodies to snack on. Meet and support local farmers, growers, artisans, and craft makers at the Pybus Public Market.
Hi, I'm Chuck Dronan, Managing Member at Epledollin Retirement and Assisted Living. It's been a tough year for all of us, but especially for those working and living in senior care facilities. Over the course of these many difficult months, our staff at Epledollin has been vigilant in adhering to federal and state guidelines to protect and assure the safety of our residents and their caregivers. If you're in need of assisted living for a loved one, give us a call at Epledollin. We're here for you.
56 minutes after the hour, 55 degrees, still hazy and smoky, but all things considered, a lot better than it has been. Wenatchee right now is 78 on the scale. That means we have moderate air. It is 96 in Leavenworth, getting close to unhealthy for sensitive groups, but not there yet. Cashmere is right at 100. When you get to 101, it goes from unhealthy to moderate to unhealthy for sensitive groups. But they put a portable site in Peshastin a few days ago just to find out what was going on there, because, it's a pretty narrow valley and the smoke can really settle down there. It's 163 in Peshastin. That is just plain unhealthy. But believe it or not, outside of Peshastin, the real dirty air, North Bend is at 125. Chehalis is at 116. Darrington is at 115, so some of that dirty air, as predicted, did drift over to the Puget Sound area in western Washington. But now it's going to come back towards us a little bit. Again, the fires are still burning. Relative humidity in the overnight hours is drier than it normally is, and that allows the fires to be more active in the evening hours. Normally, when the relative humidity goes up quite a bit, it kind of dampens down the fires, but that hasn't been the case, unfortunately, for most of this week. We'll get to that in just a little bit. But first, one more time, we'll take a look at the long-term forecast from the Climate Prediction Center. These are the people who have a pretty good batting average of telling us what the long-term forecast is. This starts next Wednesday, the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook next Wednesday. And as you can see, we are going to be not only above normal, but at many times well above normal. As we get deeper and deeper into fall, the normal high temperature keeps getting cooler and cooler. Right now, our normal high temperature for this date is 67. We're going to be 15 degrees above normal for most of next week. In fact, for this extended forecast period, as I mentioned before, that strong ridge of high pressure is going to remain over the region through the weekend. Eventually, it's going to subtly and very slowly drift over the Pacific Ocean over the next 48 hours, and then another one is going to come in by about Wednesday. Can you believe that? Can't seem to get any precipitation. Speaking of that, your 6 to 10 day precipitation outlook looks pretty dry. In fact, bone dry. Earlier in the week, they were saying that as this system comes in from Alaska, that is going to bump this high pressure ridge out of alignment. It might bring in some rain with us, some precipitation. Now they're saying, nope, it ain't. No precipitation at all in the forecast through the middle of this month. It's been a long time since we had measurable rain. Until we get measurable rain, the bottom line is the wildfires are going to continue to burn until we get enough rain to make it go out. Sorry. From the National Weather Service, one more time, here we go. Not quite as smoky and hazy today as it has been over the last 5 or 6 days, and still very warm. 79 our forecast high today. We hit 80 yesterday. This is very warm temperatures. 47 for the overnight low on Friday. Into the weekend we go. We're looking at, right now, we're anticipating that we're going to have thicker, dirtier air and smoke on Saturday and Sunday. It doesn't look too good right now. It's going to build back up again. We may see some pretty unhealthy air both Saturday and Sunday. Again, as long as the inversion layer is there, there's no place for it to go. There's no place for it to go. Near 80 on Saturday, near 80 on Sunday, again with fairly smoky skies. And come Monday, which is a federal holiday, by the way, Monday for the most part is going to be just like what we've had for the last 4 days and 5 days. And then that system will come in Monday night into Tuesday, cool us down a little bit, but not much. And that's it for us. Have a great weekend. We'll see you Monday. Bye-bye.